In 1990, Commodore released the Commodore 64 GS, which was a cartridge-based game console version of their extremely popular Commodore 64 home computer. Around 20,000 were released in Europe, but only a few thousand of those were actually sold. This one is missing its cartridge doors. So let's open it up, fix what we need to, and review the Commodore 64 GS. At the rear of the Commodore GS, there are three interfaces. The first is the low-high channel select for the American market, the radio frequency modulated video and audio output, and the 8-pin DIN composite video and audio. And on the side we have the controller port 1, 2, 7-pin DIN input power and power switch. And relocated to the top, a 44-pin expansion port. And on the base, we can see the label confirms this is a Commodore 64 GS manufactured prior to Germany's reunification. This unit's warranty seal is still intact, so let's open it up and crack through that warranty seal and have a look inside. Comparing the Commodore 64 GS's Revision B board with an equivalent Commodore 64 board, we can see components for the user port, the cassette port, the serial port and the keyboard are missing, which means we can't use interface connectors, the Commodore data set, disk drives, printers or the keyboard. What we do have though is an updated GS-ROM, a vertically positioned expansion port and lots of in-house assembly line modifications. So let's clean the ports that we have, including these edge connectors that will never be used. Cleaning up the base, we've identified that 2 original rubber feet remain, whilst 2 are missing. So let's complement these with 2 upgraded rubber feet to create a stable base. Having secured the motherboard, we can see how the GS encapsulates these now redundant interfaces. Moving our attention to the top of the case, let's remove the GS's signature fascia whilst assessing and removing the original cartridge doors solution. So let's get the top lid cleaned up in preparation for our replacement cartridge doors. To assist in the design of the cartridge doors, I navigated to breadbox64.com to review some reference images, which identified this gap, which enabled me to design, 3D print and clean up 2 replacement cartridge doors. Then purchasing 1mm steel rods, correctly sizing them, and test fitted these within the cartridge door print. Then purchasing some small torsion springs, clipping those to size, and secured the cartridge doors using hot glue to the underside of the top of the case. After securing the remaining original components, it was time to close up the unit, secure it using the screws provided, and give it some retro brighting time in the sun to try and remove some of that yellowing. Whilst we clean up the game system's signature fascia before connecting back to the main unit, ready for testing. And should you require some replacement GS cartridge doors, then visit my 3D printing page where you can download these and other retro computer related prints. Having powered up the GS, we're provided with a splash screen advising we shouldn't insert a cartridge into a rather flat looking GS whilst the power is on, which would have been derived from the upgraded GS ROM. So as per instructions, let's power the GS off, insert a cartridge and power it back on again. So let's load Fiendish Freddy from this original C64 Game System bundled cartridge. The disc company collaborated with Micropose to create the Power Play cartridge, which modified existing Commodore 64 games to operate on the GS. An example of this is Stunt Car Racer, where traditionally you would type in your name, whilst on the GS version you're presented with a table of characters you navigate using the joystick. In addition, there is no way to be able to pause the game. Or pressing the spacebar to boost in reverse. However, this is possible by pressing the fire button and back on the joystick. The disc company also collaborated with Codemasters, creating the Fun Play cartridge, which consisted of Pro Skateboard, Fast Food and Pro Tennis. So let's check out Fast Food. The visual and audio treat, Shadow of the Beast, was also available on cartridge, branded compatible with the GS. Reading the instructions confirms that pressing P pauses the game and run stop thereafter restarts the game, functions that are not available on the GS. Navy SEALs was also available on Cartridge, branded for the GS. Looking at these instructions, we can see there's a reference to button 2. So what is it? Cheetah released their Annihilator joystick, which had an additional button on the base. So let's open this up to see how it works. From the wiring colours represented here, we can see the red base button is on a different circuit to the yellow one representing the 2 top buttons. Which means instead of traditionally pressing the F1 key to pause, we can now press button 2. The RoboCop 2 cartridge did things slightly differently. It knew it was running on a C64 GS, and this is probably achieved by peaking a unique value in the GS ROM. And having read the instructions, instead of pressing the joystick up or the spacebar on the GS, we can press button 2 to jump, which makes this game an awful lot easier. Chase HQ2 Special Criminal Investigation also does this differently by allowing the gamer to select the input method. But for GS users, it means you have to change the joystick port yet again. And in this case, we don't need to read the instructions because we already know button 2 is turbo. The Terminator 2 GS branded cartridge is unique in that you need to press T to select the game. Circling back to the Cheetah Annihilator joystick, I wanted to understand how button 2 presses were read and how we can test for this. Referencing the Commodore 64 memory map document, we can identify joystick 1's address, which is 56321, and also the X value of the paddle, which is 54297. So let's write a basic program and run it on the GS to display our joystick movements and button presses. The Kung Fu Flash is a solution that loads common formatted files from SD cards which can be navigated using a joystick. Selecting our program loads it up in BASIC, and moving the joystick with conventional fire changes the first byte, whilst pressing button 2 records a binary change to the second byte. Whilst we've got the opportunity, let's load up some of my favourite Commodore 64 games onto the Games System. Great, we've found a key, so Pitstop 2, what a classic. So let's move down to start the game and tap. Commando, again another classic game. So let's see how we get on the GS. I guess we've got no grenades.